Okay, hello everyone. I realize I'm between you and drinks or dinner or whatever, so I'm going to make this pretty quick. Sri asked me to jump up here and say a couple things about data and data alliances specifically, and a little bit about my role. So I recently joined H2O. I've only been here just a little bit less than a month. Came from Red Hat before H2O, and before that I was at HP for an embarrassingly long period of time. Anyway, so my role at H2O is so basically all I'm going to cover here is introduce myself, explain my role, and then motivate a bit of a discussion around what we're thinking of doing around data and data alliances, and then hopefully get you guys sufficiently interested that some of you will come talk to me either at this conference or follow up afterwards. So my role, I'm in charge of strategic alliances. And we've sort of structured this, or I've structured this as follows. There's generic ecosystem partners, or broad volume ecosystem partners, where there are literally hundreds of companies that are in the big data, machine learning, AI space that we could partner with in some way. A lot of those companies tend to be other startups. And what we need is logoing, certification services, et cetera, for those types of partners. So that's one aspect of strategic alliances. Second aspect is around educational partnerships, where we know we would like to see H2O get wound into some university curriculum and taught more in universities, whether it's in their in-house curriculum or in their online curriculum. We'd like to partner up with some of the MOOCs, massive online educational providers, and get content into Coursera, Udacity, et cetera. And also looking at various vocational training partners. So there's companies like Pivigo and Galvanize and other companies that are teaching next generation data scientists, and so we're working with some of those as well. So that's the educational partnerships. We're also looking at partnerships with service providers. And my colleague Manish, who many of you know, is in charge of customer success, and I co-own how we would tackle the service partners. So I'm not going to say any more about any of that stuff. What I wanted to briefly talk about is our more strategic partnerships. And they're sort of organized around these three themes. You've heard a lot from us about deep learning. We think deep learning is very strategic for all the reasons that have enumerated, and we think it's extremely important for us to not directly compete with, but rather leverage all these deep learning frameworks, MXNet, TensorFlow, Patum, on and on. There's a very large number of them. Amazon recently open sourced their deep learning. One of the hottest ones is TensorFlow, so we're looking at what kind of partnerships to form around that, with strategic partnerships around that. Second major theme is around cloud, where as the way IT is delivered, that's being transformed. More and more people are starting to consume stuff through cloud services. H2O needs to have a cloud-based SaaS type offering at some point in time, and key strategic partnerships with various cloud vendors. And then the third area I wanted to say a little bit more about today is data and data alliances. So the general idea is that we would like to augment our platform and product strategy that we have today with a rich array of data sets and data services that are provided by H2O, with the high-level premise being that tools and algorithms are valuable. Tools and algorithms plus data is much more valuable than the tools and algorithms by themselves. So if we can be much more future-proofed and much more strategic and much more deeply engaged with our customers if we can bring to the table more than what we currently do with tools and algorithms. That's the general premise. So hypothetically, it might look something like this. And mostly this is just here to motivate some thinking in your heads about this. And hopefully it will do so enough that some of you will come approach me afterwards and we can talk more about any dimension of collaboration around any of this. It's all up for discussion. So if H2O provided some sort of data portal, probably hosted in the cloud, obviously, maybe with an on-prem strategy to go with it, and this portal would provide access for companies that are either data companies or have data scientists that are looking to solve real business problems and apply the machine learning and AI to get tremendous business value. And maybe they have some of the data of their own, but maybe they would like to have a place to go to get additional data that augments the data that they have. And there are literally out there, and you all know this, tens of thousands of, I don't know, I didn't count them, so I could be exaggerating, but there are so many that you can't really count them, of these public data sets that are available. They're of unknown or possibly questionable origin. They may not be of the most high value, therefore, and in some cases, those data sets are starter data sets where they give you a few thousand rows and get you interested in the data set, and then they tell that if you want to buy the full data set, it's $60,000 to get the other 15 million rows or something. So some of those are kind of a free-to-fee on-ramp, some of those public data sets. Anyway, the idea would be we would take data from public data sets, data that we get through collaboration with our customers, I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, or data from any number of commercial providers, and bring this all into a portal where we've flattened the data space, made it more searchable, made it possible for companies that are looking for data to search the data that we have and figure out if we have the data they're looking for, or if not, ask a question of like, well, I would like a data set that looks like this. Can you compose one for me? Can you attest to the authenticity and veracity of the data that you have? Do you provide some kind of sandbox function for munging and modeling the data? We would be looking to have visualizations built in, characterizations of the data built in, data exporting tools if necessary, and the other kinds of functions that are listed here. And that also some of these public data providers provide API-type access. So some of this data would be essentially virtualized through, so like weather.com or Google traffic data, Microsoft traffic data. There are other sources that have APIs. So some of this would be passed through API access. Some of this would be actual data sets that we curate or have through some kind of an arrangement. And really where we're looking to flesh out the concept is we have some deeper engagements with certain customers where, like, for example, maybe they're a real estate company, they have data about real estate of their own, and we would come in with data about geographical data about where the best school systems are, where there's crime data, or where high-tech companies are moving in, et cetera. And by combining their data and our data, they could answer questions like, what's the best site to build a new multifamily apartment complex, or where should I, or are we at a local, at a peak in the valuation of a property, so we should consider selling it. Anyway, so the idea would be we would do more and more collaborations like that, and in some cases, those companies would provide some of their data back to us to be put into this portal. And the whole idea is to do this as an open community with some sort of a governance model so that not all the content would have to be created by H2O, that a vibrant ecosystem could form where people could also contribute data. Anyway, that's the general idea behind the Data Alliances model. Hopefully this is enough of a teaser that some of you will come talk to me about it. And it's nice to be part of H2O, and I'm glad to meet all of you. Thank you.